Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to a live show. I think there's so much to discuss post the defeat yesterday that we've got to go live because there's a lot of stories coming out. Now, there are some reports saying that INEOS are having a look at Inzaghi and they're already looking elsewhere, but we've basically been told by every reliable source that Ten Hag has got to at least the October international break. Now, INEOS may have an idea of who they want to bring in if Ten Hag is sacked in the international break, but Ten Hag will be given at least 2 more games to prove himself as United manager. He's not going to be sacked today or tomorrow, but INEOS are definitely considering it. It's definitely a possibility. Ten Hag arrives at Carrington this morning at 7:30 post the Tottenham loss, reportedly for some showdown talks to get over the Tottenham loss. INEOS apparently had a serious meeting after the match and more. So hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football. Welcome back to another live Manchester United news show where we're going to discuss all the latest news on Ten Hag's future and more, and then get your opinions in. Gaz says Ten Hag is sacking himself anyway. It's just a matter of time. We all know it's going to happen. And you know what? I think Gaz might be right. And I don't want, that to happen. I don't want Ten Hag to sack himself. And I don't want another manager to be sacked because I'm fed up of managers being sacked. But at the same time, this can't go on much longer if he's not going to change anything. And if he's not going to change anything, he's sacking himself. And we're at that point where it's like, is there a way back? Is he going to do an Arteta? Or, is there a way back? And I think INEOS are not going to sack him tonight or tomorrow. But they will be given in Porto and they will be given in Villa. But the pressure is on. There's reports about Inzaghi being looked at already. It's going to be interesting as well. Pep wasn't given 3 years. Klopp wasn't given 3 years. Seasons to prove himself. So why Ten Hag? I think Pep inherited a much better team. But yes, I know what you mean. But then Arteta was given 3 years and it worked. It's an interesting one because Maresca's coming. He's doing a good job at Chelsea. We're basically using Arteta taking ages at Arsenal to justify it. And it's one of those where maybe, because Ten Hag's style of play is so different to Ollie's and what we had in the squad, maybe he does need time. But then when you look at the majority of the signings being his signings, people that he's brought in and good players when it comes to like international duty, it does get to the point where, can we keep making excuses? Thank you very much, XE, for the super chat. He says Ten Hag should leave and sack himself. How long can this go for? I mean, how long can it go for? I mean, look, we're going to get into the news. We're going to get into the updates. He's under pressure now. He's under serious pressure by those at INEOS, and he's got until the international break. And if it's bad versus Villa, and if it's bad versus Porto, he is gone in that international break, I think. So let's get into the news. James Ducker said this. Ten Hag's position is under intense scrutiny. Dan Ashworth, Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox and Brailsford were in deep conversations after the match yesterday. Ten Hag is well and truly under pressure. United's start of the season has caused a consternation within Old Trafford. I don't know what that means. If you know what that means, let me know. But what I'm gathering is there was talks after the match with the INEOS reps. And they are thinking, this isn't good. That this is we're not sacking him yet. We're not sacking him tonight. We're not sacking him tomorrow. But the INEOS reps are probably thinking this is not good, bruv. That's what they're probably thinking. We're gonna have to act soon if this continues as well. And that's one of the things they're looking at as well. Just interestingly, let me know in the chat if you're Ten Hag in or Ten Hag out. I'm intrigued to know what sort of the percentage is right now in terms of Ten Hag in and Ten Hag out as well. We need defensive shape, Alice. I agree with that as well. Pep and Klopp never lost 7-0 and finished 8th. Klopp did, didn't he? Not 7-0, but he did lose 7-1 to Villa or 7-2. Will Porto draw and Villa draw be enough? If we drew to Porto and drew to Villa, but we played well, it would be enough. If we drew to them and we played horrific, probably not. I think it's not just about results, it's about performance. Let's say we beat Porto 3-0. But we lose 2-1 to Villa, and we play really well. I think he could be fine. I think it's like results is going to have an impact, but I think massively it's the performance and what they've seen. At the end of the day, the performance versus Tottenham was shocking. Before the red card, Tottenham could have been 3-0 up. And we look at Liverpool and the performance was shocking versus Liverpool, but our individual errors and Liverpool being clinical was the main reason the scoreline was 3-0. Like Liverpool dominated us, but us missing chances, Liverpool being clinical and us making errors was the reason Liverpool beat us 3-0. Tottenham also beat us 3-0, but Tottenham could have beaten us 6-7-0. Tottenham generally could have beaten us 6-7-0 if Werner finished those chances because Tottenham were all over us from minute 1 to minute 90. Now, Liverpool were all over us, but Tottenham, they battered us even more than Liverpool did. and it was not good enough as well. Ten Hag has to find consistency, to be honest. We've always seen him deliver outstanding performances when his job's on the line, but as soon as things get calm, we get such performances. We need the consistency. I agree. He can pull a game out of the bag, the Man City, the cup final, but he can't do it consistently, and we need to see consistency. We need to see a style. We need to see what we're building for the long term, and I agree as well. We must beat Porto, sack Ten Hag now, let Van Nistelrooy in charge. They're not going to sack him now. They've said that as well. Ten Hag has to go before the season is completely lost, says Rex. So a lot of people want Ten Hag now. The first half was soul crushing. Even before the red card, the first half was absolutely soul crushing as well. The FA Cup win actually ruined the season and perhaps the next several seasons. I don't want to say that because I think maybe Ten Hag could turn it around, but and I think I can understand they keeping him after the FA Cup win because there wasn't great alternatives there. Any update on Maino and Mount concussion? Maino just a knock. Don't think there's anything serious there as well. INEOS haven't been back in Ten Hag at all. They just don't want to be in a position where they don't have a manager. As soon as another option close to hard, he'll be let go. They backed him this summer. They really did back him this summer. They brought in Van Nistelrooy. They brought in René Hake. I think INEOS have truly backed Ten Hag. But I don't know if but what I think is I don't think INEOS truly wanted to keep Ten Hag. I think when the decision came that Ten Hag was staying because they weren't sure who to bring in or they couldn't get who they wanted to bring in, they said, well, look, we've got to back him now. But I don't think INEOS actually, and I would say INEOS have backed Ten Hag. I just don't think INEOS actually wanted Ten Hag to stay to begin with as well. If we're being totally honest, what's the hype about Ruud? Isn't he part of the current coaching setup? McKenna was part of the current coaching setup, and then look at the job he's done at Ipswich under Ollie. Everyone wanted McKenna gone when Ollie was there, and then he went off and he's done a brilliant job. Carrick's done a good job at Newcastle, so just because Ruud's part of the coaching setup and we're playing bad doesn't make him a bad manager. He went and came second with PSV and won a trophy. People saying Nagelsmann in. I mean, Nagelsmann, Inzaghi, Thomas Frank. Who would you be bringing in? Graham Potter, even if Ten Hag is sacked, who would you be bringing in as well? We were dominated by Spurs at home in January last season, but it was 2-2. We were dominated by Spurs, but we had some decent spells last year. We were just dominated for 90 minutes in this game as well. Absolutely dominated. But let's get into some other information that's been said and put out there in regards to Ten Hag. It was also said by Andy Mitten, very reliable and reputable journalist, said this on the Talk of the Devils podcast, which is the Athletic, Laurie Whitwell and co. He said, support for Ten Hag has evaporated. 20 was the snapping point for a lot of people. Ten Hag is on really thin ice. Ten Hag has to find an answer quickly or pressure will come insurmountable. So now Andy Mitten is saying, yeah, the cracks are there. After FC20, a couple people, they were turning on Ten Hag. The support within the club for Ten Hag after FC20, it took a bit of a click. It took a little bit of a click. There is not long left for Eric, is basically what's being said as well. McKenna needs to go to be what he is. If he had stayed at United, he would have been sacked a long time ago. Oh yeah, I'm not saying that, McKenna should have stayed at United. He needed to go and actually get first-hand coaching experience. But what I'm saying is, just because McKenna was part of Ollie's coaching staff that failed doesn't mean that he would be a bad manager. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry if that's been, Eric Ten Hag out. How many good performances has he had in the last year? His formation creates massive space. Not even Agarty can feel. Last 2 matches, Rashford lacks commitment and created both first goals. Look, I don't think Rashford's really at fault for the first goal when you actually deep the fact that Mickey van der Ven run through 50 of our players. Rashford could have done better. De Ligt could have done better. Agarty could have done better. Managerial could have done better. Delo definitely could have done better. I don't think we can blame one person for the goal as well. You can tell supporting this club has taken the life out of Alice. Look sleepy. I do look sleepy, to be honest. Man United is draining at the moment as well. It is absolutely draining. I have to go out right now, but waiting 2 games is mad. Suppose by some miracle we beat Porto and Villa, Ten Hag gets to stay. A couple games later, it goes pear-shaped again, inevitably. And I think that's what people are thinking. People are thinking, well, I'd love us to beat Villa and I'd love us to beat Porto and Ten Hag turn it around. But it feels like if we do beat Villa and Porto, he stays for a few more games and then the inevitable happens. We need to beat Villa and Porto, but then go on a run of winning 12 games in a row and playing good football and doing something mad. That's what we need. Anyway, so Eric Ten Hag arrived at Carrington at 7:30am this morning, and he's set to remain in charge for the Europa League game and the trip to Porto on Thursday at the Premier League and the Premier League fixture versus Villa on Sunday. Those fixtures are crucial in deciding Ten Hag's fate. But he's coming to Carrington at 7:30 this morning to discuss the Tottenham loss, to have some talks, get over the Tottenham loss, and prepare for the next game. Because it was said that Ten Hag has at least 2 more games on the door, it looks like. Erik Ten Hag is now under huge pressure again, said the Mail Sport. Man United will stick with Erik Ten Hag for matches against Porto and Aston Villa this week, despite the loss for Tottenham. While the pressure on Erik Ten Hag is clearly mounted, Manchester United's hierarchy will carefully consider such situations rather than making decisions immediately after a bad result. So what Simon Stone is saying, and he's a very credible journalist, is INEOS are looking at this bad result and they're having a conversation and stuff. And INEOS aren't just going to react to this bad result in the emotion and sack Ten Hag. They're going to react to this result, have conversations about it, given the Porto game, given the Villa game. But if the Villa and Porto game does not show anything, then Ten Hag might be sacked. You're saying they're not going to just sack Ten Hag and react to this right now? They're going to basically say, well, we'll give him 2 more games. We're not going to be reactionary, but we need to see something, is what INEOS are saying. They'll give Ten Hag 2 more games, but INEOS are desperate to see something. Absolutely desperate. It's laughable. Last year we had injuries. Now we have a full squad and we're even worse. And I agree. It's worrying. We've got a full squad. We can't use injuries as an excuse. And it seems to be worse. You're absolutely right. The thing that worries me is I made a lot of excuses for Ten Hag last year, and I wanted Ten Hag to be given a 3rd season because ultimately, I think the environment at United has been the biggest problem. Now INEOS are coming in and fixing the environment, the excuse runs out for Ten Hag. But when most of Ten Hag's players were signed by him, when most of his players are internationals and they go on international duty and they're fantastic, so we know there's good players in the squad. And of course, when we don't have the injuries we had last year, it is getting difficult to make excuses for Ten Hag and say, actually, this just isn't good enough. I don't think the players have given up. Like, you know me, I've gone in on these players for giving up or not giving 100% many a times at United. But I felt like the players were really trying. And either they're not good enough or the tactics are not good enough. I felt like the players were trying. Garnacho was running and running and running to the end. Mason Mount, I thought, was running and running and running. Mazraoui tried. Dalot always tries, and he just had a stinker of a game. Some players had a stinker of a game. Some players were given 100%. I don't actually think it was on the players as well. I don't. Dalot was crap. I think he tried, but he was just crap yesterday, and I like Dalot. I think they gave 100% actually. I think the players did try. Particularly in that second half, they tried. 10 men, they tried. Now, there is reports of United having an interest in Inzaghi. He is under consideration at United, and there's 4 managers that have been linked to United recently. The 4 managers that have been linked to Manchester United are Inzaghi, Thomas Frank, Graham Potter, and Nagelsmann. I'm assuming Tuchel will also be linked to United, but they're the 5 managers that are now getting linked to United amid what is going on with the Ten Hag loss and stuff as well. Someone said we need more than just good tactics at United. A new manager is not going to change everything. However, that being said, I do think that Ten Hag is getting a lot wrong, and we could improve with a new manager, which is fair. I think a new manager doesn't change everything. I don't think it's all on Ten Hag. I think we do have players that are not good enough. We do have players that are not suiting the style of football we want to play, and we do lack players with the athleticism. But I think our squad now is better than the squad that Ollie had. I think our squad now is better than the squad that Ollie had, but I think we're playing worse. Everyone is fit. I think our squad now is quite good, but we seem to be playing worse, in my opinion. We really do. Alice, do you think we have any chance of beating Villa? Well, we beat Villa twice last season and we were crap last season, so yeah, there's definitely a chance of beating Villa. You never know. You never know. Casemiro good after a couple games off. I thought Casemiro was alright. I think if I was going to scrape the barrel for positives, I thought Andre Onana was good for us. I thought Casemiro was alright when he came on. I thought Mount was alright when he came on. And I thought Garnacho worked his bloody socks off. If I was going to name positives, that's probably where I could scrape the barrel with positives as well. But it was bad. There was not the basics of passing and movement. After you said here, it was not there. There was no tactics. There's no creativity. Closing down, winning the ball. It just lacked so much. Mason Mount, Amad Diallo, Højlund, all the subs did okay. The starting 11 bar Onana was bad, but all the subs did okay as well. Because we had 10 men, and I thought the subs did work really hard and work their socks off as well. Gas said Ollie would get more out of this team. I mean, who knows? Who knows that? But let's get back into some news. Let's get back into some stories. They are looking at Inzaghi. I like Inzaghi. I think he's a fantastic manager, but I do think it's a bit early for who's going to be the next manager. I think we wait until Ten Hag is sacked to discuss this, because I think it would just be rude interim to the end of the season. It was said by Sam C. Some around Erik Ten Hag think that enough work has been done around him to warrant a stay longer. Erik will remain in charge for the games against Porto and Villa, but is now under pressure. An immediate change of manager is not expected. For the hierarchy, the important thing is to support the manager, the staff, and the players in this difficult period. So right now, they're saying, despite rumours, there's no sacking. No sacking has been planned, and that is fair. That is fair, and that's understandable. As bad as it was, they are going to give it an international break. This doesn't mean Ten Hag is safe. This does not mean that Ten Hag's job is safe in the slightest. What this means is, right now, they won't sack Ten Hag, but that doesn't mean they won't sack him in 2 games' time. They're not going to sack Ten Hag off the back of this performance. He's got Porto, he's got Villa. They might sack him after that. They're not sacking Ten Hag yet, but they might after that as well. The passing in the first half was atrocious. Absolutely atrocious as well. Why would Inzaghi leave a good Inter Milan for us? True, and that's another thing I wanted to actually mention as well. My point about Casemiro is that Bruno's overplayed. The only good thing about the Bruno red card is if he gets 3 games off, maybe he gets the rest that he needs. That being said, I think United will appeal the Bruno red card, and I think they'll get the ban removed because it's not a red card. Everyone knows it's not a red card as well. Of course, there's no tactics. Our playmaker and captain was sent off, but before that, there was no tactics that were good. I mean, there was tactics. They just weren't the right approach. It wasn't good tactics as well. Would Højlund get service, or is his positioning crap? I don't think there's an issue with Højlund. I think that Højlund's just being scapegoated. I think Højlund is a good player. I think you put Højlund in that Arsenal team and he bags a lot of goals, and we'd be talking, I wish we signed him if he was at Arsenal. I think every Man United player would be much better in a different team right now, because we don't have the structure, the organisation around it, which is, massively on Ten Hag, and that's why I think a lot of people want Ten Hag out, is because they know that there's a good player in Højlund. They know there's a good player in Mano. They know that there's a good player in this player and that player, but we're not seeing it. We're not seeing a good Bruno anymore. I think that's why a lot of people are frustrated as well. And people are saying Højlund's terrible. It's just ridiculous. Højlund's fine. He's a 20-year-old kid, He's just come back from injury and he's got no service. This was said by Laurie Whitwell. Privately, those in charge are echoing Ten Hag's sentiments that altering the infrastructure and working practices at the club was the main priority when INEOS arrived, and patience is required to allow that to bed in and see results. Barada and Ashworth only went public backing Ten Hag at the start of this month, so changing course now would be a volte-face and keeping out for executives who like to be driven by methodological processes. So what Laurie Whitwell is saying is, obviously, those inside the club, are not going to sack Ten Hag today. They will give him at least 2 more games. They came out publicly a month ago and backed him. So if they go and sack him after this awful game to Tottenham, it's, FC20 was bad, Palace was bad, but if they go and sack him after this awful game to Tottenham, it's a bit reactionary. They don't want to be reactionary and sack him after this awful game to Tottenham, as awful as it was. They want to give him a couple more games. Now, they will potentially sack him in the October international break after Porto and Villa. There's potential of that. They're not sacking him now, and they did praise him, but they know that, he's got a few more games. So nothing's going to happen today, but I think those inside United and INEOS, there are some serious concerns as well. INEOS and their highly paid and poached employees have no one lined up to replace Ten Hag. Easy to lay off 250 staff, harder to fire a manager who clears out Old Trafford before full time, says Harry. And I think the one thing is, I think INEOS will have an idea of who they want. I think Ten Hag's got 2 more matches, but I think in the space of these 2 more matches, INEOS will have an emergency plan. Because there is a possibility Ten Hag gets sacked in the national break. There's a possibility he doesn't get sacked. I think INEOS will be thinking, right, what if we have to sack him after Porto and Villa? What are we going to do? And I think INEOS will be sitting there with a plan of what they're going to do, what everything is. I think INEOS will be sitting there thinking, this is the plan. This is what we're going to do. That's what I'm thinking. I think INEOS will have an idea of what they want to do if Ten Hag is sacked. Maybe it's Thomas Frank, maybe it's Graham Potter, maybe they go for Inzaghi. If I was going to guess, I think Nagelsmann is who they want. Maybe Thomas Tuchel comes in. I think INEOS have a plan. If I'm going to be honest, I think Thomas Tuchel, I don't know what went wrong in the summer. INEOS wanted Thomas Tuchel in the summer and something went wrong between them and Thomas Tuchel. I wouldn't be surprised if Thomas Tuchel's pulled in at Christmas time, if it goes bad. Like Chelsea did and he won them the Champions League. Not saying that he's going to win the Europa League, but Yeah. Alice, any update on Maino and Mount? There's nothing. There's just like knocks. They'll be fine for the next match as well. People keep going in on Højlund. I just think it's a bit overreactionary. Højlund's not started a game this season, and people are writing him off when he scored 3 in his last 3 Premier League games last season. Højlund got 16 goals last season at age 20 with no service in an unsustainable Man United system. We brought Højlund because off the back of a 9-goal season, and he's got potential to be a 20-goal season striker. He's just not there yet. He's 20 years of age. I think people are way too harsh on Højlund as well. I don't understand why certain players are consistently terrible and still get picked for big games, just because maybe lack of squad depth, manager favouritism, a mixture of things as well. Daz said he would go for recruitment for Tuchel. Sean says player recruitment has been poor under Erik Ten Hag. It has been bad. I think all the recruitment we've done this summer, I'm quite happy with. Agarthe's the normal question marks around it. But I think, the recruitment, in the previous seasons has been bad. It has been really bad. Now, is Erik Ten Hag safe? Melissa Reddy says this. Erik Ten Hag retains the backing of Manchester United football leadership structure with no immediate plans for change of manager. While there is a consensus that non-performance in the 3-0 dubbing against Tottenham was unacceptable, the hierarchy's focus at the moment remains on providing support to the Dutchman, his backroom staff, and the players to turn their fortunes around. So what is being said right now is INEOS are backing Ten Hag right now. But that doesn't mean they are completely backing Ten Hag. As said earlier, Ten Hag's position is under scrutiny. Dan Ashworth, Barada, Wilcox and Brailsford were in deep conversation after the game, and United's start to the season has caused consternation within Old Trafford. So he's getting 2 more games, and INEOS has said we're not gonna sack you. You've got 2 more games, but there is worries, there is concerns there as well. Gaz says even if we sack Ten Hag, we're stuck with his crap signings, but I think most of the signings are good. I think Mazraoui's a good signing. I think De Ligt's a good signing. I think Xerxes will be a good signing. I think Euro will be a good signing. I think Eriksson will need to be moved on. Casemiro will need to be moved on. I think the only Ten Hag signing that I think is completely crap is Anthony. If I'm going to be honest, that's the one that we would need to move on as well. I don't think Erik Ten Hag has done bad recruitment. I think he has when you think of how much has been spent. When you look at, we're talking about how our midfield doesn't have the legs to cover ground. I think when you look at the midfield recruitment, Eriksson and Casemiro cannot do what Ten Hag wants to do because they don't have the physical demands of it. I think that's, whereas Gravenberch, who's gone to Liverpool, does, and Ten Hag worked with Gravenberch. I think there's questions around it, and we could have got Kudus, we got Anthony. We could have got Gravenberch, we went for Amrabat. I think that's the elements of it. But maybe Gravenberch comes to United and is crap because the system is crap. I mean, he's doing great at Liverpool, but I do think part of that is because of Slot's system. I think he's a good player and Slot's found the right system for him as well. But there's lots of mixed reports going on as well. People going on Onana in the chat. Look, Onana's been hit and miss at United, but he was the only player that started that game that can come home with his head held high. Mount, Casemiro, when they came on, I thought they were right actually, but out of the starting 11, I think Onana's the only one that can be somewhat happy with his performance. So I don't get the Onana criticism. Michael Carrick's a cheap option that knows the club and the budget to recruit. Michael Carrick, I wouldn't. For me, I'd rather just have Van Nistelrooy as interim than bring in Carrick. I think that's just a bit of a faff. I think it is basically Ten Hag has these next 2 games, and if Ten Hag does well in these next 2 games, he stays, he buys himself a bit longer, and he might inevitably be sat when it goes wrong again. He might find something, he might turn it around, we might bring something together. If Ten Hag is sacked, I think it's Ruud van Nistelrooy's interim, or Tuchel comes in, Nagelsmann comes in, United go for Thomas Frank, United go for Graham Potter. I'm not sure. I don't think we get Inzaghi. I know United like Inzaghi. I know United looking at Inzaghi. I know he's a fantastic manager, but I don't think United get Inzaghi as well. I think it's the managers I've listed are the most likely as well. No matter who you recruit, the manager can't read a game. I think the thing is, I think Ten Hag is getting a lot wrong, and I can't defend Ten Hag anymore. I do think there's elements of some of the players just aren't good enough, and some of the players can't do this and can't do that. But I think it's getting to the point where a lot of the problems at United are coming back to Ten Hag. This profile's being misprofiled. This player's being misprofiled. This player's being used wrong. This substitution's bad. This approach is bad. Tottenham are going to play like this, so why are we playing like this at home? And ultimately, a lot of the issues right now at United is coming back to Ten Hag. Because Højlund will go to Denmark on international duty and probably bag 3 goals. Xerxes was fantastic for Netherlands on international duty. I feel like, Bruno will go to Portugal and put 2 man of the match performances in on international duty again, and then they'll come back to United and it's back to the crap. And we every international duty we're like, wow, all our players are balling out, and they come back to United and it's just back to rubbish and stuff. And I think that is the frustrating and worrying thing there as well. Absolutely. Eric Ten Hag play style is too slow and never takes risks, always passes to the wing, pass back. I mean, it does feel like that at the moment. Is that what he's coaching them to do? I'm not sure. I think elements of it is Eric Ten Hag coaching us to play this bad, or are the players unable to execute what Ten Hag wants us to do? I think there's mixtures of both of it, but it is really concerning, particularly when Gary Neville's Valencia stats are now better than Eric Ten Hag's last 28 games. It is concerning. Alex, what signings would you make in January to save United? Anthony Robinson, because Luke Shaw is not fit. I would probably go for Anthony Robinson. I want to show you something, actually. I want to show you something here. Let me share my screen. Here we go. Let me zoom in on this. So we thought Luke Shaw was going to be back, yeah? We all thought Luke Shaw was going to be back really soon, right? No. Euro Malacia and Shaw are expected back in 6 to 8 weeks. Luke Shaw was expected to be back in end of September. We were told Luke Shaw would be back end of September. No, he's going to be back end of November. End of November with Malacia. So my biggest criticism of INEOS this window was, why didn't we bring in a left back? Because if Mazraoui gets injured, we are screwed. Or if Delo gets injured, we're screwed. I said this here. My only real criticism of this transfer window was why we didn't sign or at least loan a left back in when both Shaw and Malacia out until November. We are Mazraoui or Delo an injury away from playing Lindelof, Anthony, or Leacher at left back, because Maguire will play centre back, Leacher will play left back. Like, that's not the position we want to be in. That's not the position we want to be in one bit. And then, to rub salt in the wounds, Alvaro Fernandez, who we sold, the left back we sold, is now ranking first for crosses per 90, shot assists per 90, progressive passes per 90, passing to penalty area per 90. He's now balling it out at Benfica. And it's like, no fit left backs, and we sell the only other player we have in the squad after he had a brilliant championship loan. This season, we again have no fit left backs, and Alvaro is balling it out at Benfica. Sometimes we do it to ourselves. Why did United sign an injured Euro even if fit? Whose place does he get? Because he's going to be a world-class centre-back. And with the centre-back injuries we need, and if you look at Man City, they've got 4 good centre-backs. John Stones doesn't always start. Ruben Dias doesn't always start. But they've got 4 good centre-backs at Man City. So why can't Man United have more than 2 good centre-backs? Euro, Dilip, Martinez rotating as well. Anthony would be a good left back for me. I think Anthony would probably be better at left back, but he doesn't want to play there. He doesn't like playing left back as well. Is Malacia ever going to play again? I'd assume so, but he just had a really bad injury as well. How Van der Ven run through the team for the first goal inside 2 minutes and they're all chasing shadows, that's concerning, yeah. And I think some of that is coaching and the structure, how many players can just run through our whole team. Players need to do better, but why are we making it so easy for them and so open for a player to run through our whole team? It's concerning as well. The players are not smart enough to play Ten Hag tactics. They don't know how to close the gaps. I think it's a mixture of what Ten Hag's doing isn't working and he needs to change it up. But I'm sure that Ten Hag isn't wanting us to play this badly. I'm sure that the players are not executing elements of what Ten Hag wants us to do either. How are you feeling right now about Ten Hag? Are you nervous? Yeah, I am worried. I said that yesterday. As someone that has, given Ten Hag a lot of leniency and a lot of excuses and not backing, I'm going to be honest. I'm worried. I'm thinking I can't make more excuses for him when most of the players are his and he's in his 3rd season. I do think ultimately the next manager's not going to be a miracle and it's not a quick fix. I think there is problems with the players and there is problems with the squad. 100%. And I don't think sacking Ten Hag solves as many issues as people think, but it could be a real possibility. Former Manchester United assistant manager and chief scout Mick Brown on Ten Hag said, from what he hears, he doesn't have long left if things are going the way they are. So someone who was inside United has got connections to United is hearing that he does not have long left. And I think, to be honest, if Porto and Villa are really bad, he's gone. Now, I think we're going to get a result versus Porto and Villa, and I think he's going to make it past the October international break and have a couple more games. But I think if Porto and Villa are really bad, he's gone. I think if he shows something versus Porto and Villa, he's got a few more games. The tactics from Ten Hag doesn't currently seem to fit the players available in the squad. He should consider adjusting his strategy better to match the strengths and abilities of the team. I agree with that as well. Garnacho getting better, but still single-minded, not team-focused. I think he is team-focused. I think he's a direct player. I think he works so hard for the team. I think he is team-focused as well. Trust me, we will win against either Port or Villa. I have a feeling we're going to get a result. Weirdly, even though I'm worried and I'm concerned around Ten Hag and I'm concerned about this club, I feel like it's the most Man United Ten Hag thing to go and get a decent result versus Villa. This is obviously the news, and then I want to get up on my screen here, but it's obviously been said. There's a growing acceptance at Man United that Erik Ten Hag is now under severe pressure ahead of the game against FC Porto and Villa this week. That's what was said. You know, he's under severe pressure. Basically, there's a feeling that INEOS have given Erik Ten Hag 2 games to turn it around. That is the feeling. That's what's being said. And multiple sources are saying Ten Hag is under some real pressure. He's got 2 more games. He's not going anywhere now, but you know, there's a lot going on as well. I mean, we've got now the Daily Star. I mean, this is from the Daily Star, so take this with a massive pinch of salt. Simon Inzaghi is now emerged as a serious Simon Inzaghi? What am I saying? Inzaghi has now emerged as a serious contender to become the next Manchester United manager if Erik Ten Hag is sacked, apparently, according to the Star. Now, I don't believe the Star. I think the Star is often full of nonsense, but you know, there's the Stars now, the Mirror and the Star and the Mail are now saying that Inzaghi is a serious option if Ten Hag is sacked. I think they'll be looking at Inzaghi. I think they'll be looking at a number of other managers, but I don't really believe much that comes out from the Daily Star, if you want my honest opinion as well. So interesting news here coming out from Rob Dawson I want to share with you guys. A lot of stories are coming out this minute. This story's come out just now. It was said Man United believe they are well prepared to make a managerial change if results and performance do not pick up, prompting Ruud van Nistelrooy is considered a viable short-term option if change becomes necessary. So we're now being told from the likes of Rob Dawson that United believe they are well prepared to make managerial change if results do not pick up. Ruud van Nistelrooy is the viable short-term option. I don't think we're getting Inzaghi. I don't think there's any chance of Manchester United getting Inzaghi in. I think maybe they go for a Frank, maybe they go for a Potter, Nagelsmann, Tuchel. We'll have to see what happens with that. But I think there is the possibility of Ten Hag's got 2 more games. If those 2 games are crap, I think they do just go, you know what, Ruud van Nistelrooy, you're in, until they're confident they get the manager that they want him for the long term. Inzaghi winning Serie A and he wants Champions League, why would he leave? Exactly. I don't think we're getting Inzaghi. I don't believe the Inzaghi rumours. I don't think we're getting him as well. Why don't our defenders get so far forward yet never sprint back? Slot versus United praised his players for sprinting back after losing the ball. Never seen United players sprint back under Ten Hag, which is fair. I don't like how deep we defend either. That really annoys me as well. Why would Nagelsmann leave Germany? Who knows? Maybe he wants to get back into club management. Good relationship with Vivel. Like, to be honest, I think realistically it's Thomas Tuchel, it's Thomas Frank, or it is Graham Potter if Ten Hag is sacked. I think realistically that's what we've got. And I think INEOS will be thinking about that because they were the 3 managers we had in the summer and they didn't go for them. So I think INEOS will be having a serious thought about that 100% as well. These players don't play for the badge. What makes you think they will play for a manager, any manager? And look, this is the thing. I think I'm getting to the point where I'm running out of excuses for Ten Hag and I can't keep defending him because I think ultimately he's going to get himself sacked if he keeps doing what he's doing. But I do also think sacking Ten Hag isn't going to just make us a great team again. Like, I think some people think we sacked Ten Hag, we're going to play good football again. I think it will take time. I think some of it is down to the players not having the intelligence to execute what Ten Hag wants them to do, which can cause issues as well. 100%. Guys, please do go ahead and hit that like button if you have not already. And of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. There's a link in the video description to vote me in the Football Content Awards this year. If you have not voted me in the Football Content Awards, I've been nominated for 3 awards. I've been nominated for the Best in Video Individual, which is one of the first awards that comes up on the voting page. I've been nominated for the Best Club Content Creator, which is the Premier League. And I've also been nominated for Best Influencer at the Football Content Awards this year. But there's people like Fabrizio Romano and that. So I've got no chance of winning that. But it'd be absolutely amazing to see if I could win one of those 3 awards. So if you could click the link in the description, Football Content Awards, www.footballcontentawards.com/voting, and there's a link in the description. It would be absolutely amazing. And of course, do subscribe if you're new. I do 10-minute video roundups of the news and I do live streams. We're 6 subscribers away from 94.1k. So please do hit that subscribe button if you're new as well. But big up everybody in the chat as well. Porto is going to be a tough game. 6 out of 7 wins so far for Porto. I think, to be honest, I said this before the Tottenham game, and I said this before the FC20 game. I said even after we beat Southampton and Barnsley, I said I can see us losing to Porto away. I can see us moving for Porto away as well. So yeah, vote Alice so she beats Romano. So Morrow would just play defensive shape, Mason Mount, Hoyle and Casemiro Ugarte start giving protection. I think that's what United might do as well. Sacking Ten Hag might not be the best decision for the project. A new manager would bring different expectations and might not be comfortable working with the current squad. And that's the problem. INEOS have backed Ten Hag. They spent a load of money on him. As bad as that Tottenham game was, sacking him off the back of that Tottenham game when you just spent so much money on him and we're only 6 games into the season, it's like, oh, now we've got a new manager with new philosophies. And I think that's why INEOS are thinking, well, if it's really bad versus Porto and Villa, we may have to sack him. But I think INEOS deep down want to give him till Christmas. But if it's really bad, we'll sack him. Because I think they want to give him at least 3 months with the players that they've brought in to see what he can do. And I think INEOS will be looking at these next 2 games and saying, can we see progress? And I think what INEOS will want is progress as well. Nagelsmann's like Ragnick with success. But the thing is, Ragnick come in and he really struggled. Nagelsmann, he would take a lot of time because the way Nagelsmann plays is so different to how we play now and requires so many different profiles that I think when Ragnick came in, we thought we were going to play good football, but Ragnick ball was the polar opposite to Oli ball, which made it really difficult for the players to adapt. And Nagelsmann ball was the polar opposite to Ten Hag ball, which I think is why INEOS looked more at Thomas Frank and Thomas Tuchel because there's more similarities to Ten Hag ball there as well. But I do think Vivel is a big fan of Nagelsmann as well. Listen, people, I am going to wrap up today's live show. Please do go ahead and hit the like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I'll probably be back around 6 p.m. tonight, so do tune in around 6 p.m. tonight. Subscribe if you're new, and if you have not already, please do click the link in the description and subscribe. Click the link in the description and vote for me in the Football Content Awards. It would be absolutely amazing if you do that as well. And yeah, big up to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for watching. We're 5 subscribers off 94.1k. See you next time. Bye.